and welcome to the Yorkshire Voice podcast. Today we're discussing news happening in and around the Yorkshire region. I'm Lucy Jade, and today I'm joined by Jordan Lunn, Honor Doyle and Lucas Davis. So what's been happening? Well, the assisted dying bill is at the forefront today. The proposed law currently states that a High Court judge must check each person is eligible and has not been coerced into making the decision to die. However, Labour MP Kim Leadbeater has suggested replacing the High Court judge with a panel of experts who will oversee applications. This comes after retired High Court judge Sir Nicholas Mostyn expressed his thoughts, saying that it would be impossible for the High Court judge to rule in every assisted dying case. If the proposed law is approved, the bill would allow terminally ill adults expected to die within 6 months to help end their life. So guys, what are your thoughts on this? Let's hear them.
I'm for it.
You're for it?
Yeah, only because I think it's really unfair to put someone through, this is obviously a personal opinion, but I think that people don't deserve to go through pain. If it's really bad, why should they be put through that if they have that choice and they're happier, maybe, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I'd agree. If there's an easier way out and they're happy to do that rather than just stay suffering, then they should have that option.
Because also, if they know it's going to happen, it's going to be a lot harder for their family, for themselves. It's like a countdown, and I really just don't agree with that.
I think a lot of families as well have to go through a grieving stage multiple times when they're losing a person bit by bit, and family members know that. I've had personal experiences with losing family members, and I think having them having that choice will make their life come to an end more, give them more dignity, I guess.
Yeah, it's I can't describe it, but there's a word I want to say. I can't even think about it. I can't remember.
I think it's just a case of it should be up to the person.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to suffer in pain if they're ready.
Yeah, and I also think it depends what they're going through. If the decision's coming from someone else, it shouldn't be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there should be a line that
can't be crossed.
Yeah. But also if they're not aware, so for example, if they've got dementia or something, I also don't think that they should have the ability to say yes or no, because obviously depending on how bad it is, they're not aware of it, if you understand what I mean.
I think when it comes to dementia side, I think it's down to the family to make the decision. Because if they're feeling we don't feel, well, obviously they feel great speaking to them, but they're not getting much out of them, and it's just really sad to see. And they don't want them to see them die, obviously, but they think it's a better option because they feel like they're going to go visit them for a weekend or something to see how they're doing, and not much is coming out of them. So I think it's a better option for the family to make the decision when they're got dementia.
Yeah, I think for dementia, people suffering from dementia, I know there's normally a set person in their family that manage their finances and things like that. I think it should go to that person.
Yeah, the next of kin.
The next of kin,
yeah.
Or they're appointee, they can appoint someone to do that thing. I think it should be a bit like that. But yeah.
But then I also think it's really hard for someone else to make that decision.
It is.
When they can't make it themselves.
They can't feel their pain.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't understand what they're feeling. So maybe it should happen naturally.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what you do have to think about, looking at the opposite side of it, is they're filled with emotion and grief at the thought of losing them.
Yeah.
So are they going to be able to think in the right mind of whether they end their life or not for them? It's a tough one.
It is.
So on to Kirklees Council now. The latest budget shows to be a sign that local authorities are beginning to turn a corner after many difficult years. They've said that they're looking to the future. Its proposed budget for the next financial year, which has included a whopping £27.6 million of cuts to try and help close the gap on what's said to be a budget black hole of £29.3 million. However, a council tax rise of 4.99% is set under the new proposed budget, which would lift bills for a typical Band D property by £1.80 a week. This is in line with the council tax increase expected across the country in 2025. So, how do we think that this will affect people that are under the Band D category?
Well, I think first and foremost, the budget update, I think it's necessary. You said about that black hole. I think they do need to do something to close that. But yeah, obviously, people will suffer if they're in the Band D. But I think it's just the way things are going with the cost of living crisis. Everything's slowly getting more and more expensive, and it's just following that same line.
Yeah, and I mean, it does add up, but £1.80, did you say a week?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not that financially, what's the word?
It doesn't sound a lot, but in
It
the grand
doesn't sound
scheme
a
of
lot,
things,
but
But
yeah,
when you look at the bigger picture, it's
it
a
does
lot.
add up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, someone that's living on the breadline, it's gonna tip them over the edge.
Yeah,
isn't
but-
it?
Or if, like if old people, they're living by themselves.
Yeah.
And obviously they're going to be pensioners.
I think
They can't afford that much. They have to turn to their like daughters to help them pay for it. Otherwise, yeah.
I think if the money that they're obviously going to gain from this council tax going up, they can put to other use, to services to help the people that are going to suffer from this.
Yeah.
So the way that they use the money that they get is going to be crucial to how I think people see it and deal with it.
Yeah, I think it's going to help overall. And obviously, to help, you've kind of got to hinder first, I guess. It's just a case of, like, to have the budget that it is, there's got to be some cutbacks somewhere. But yeah, it's just a shame for the Band D category, I guess.
It is a shame
It is.
because it does add up.
It does. As well as the increase of tax. Yeah, it was announced yesterday that West Yorkshire Police are set to roll out mobile speed cameras in an attempt to reduce the number of accidents on the city roads. Now, it's said that they're to be installed in 2 areas, core camera sites and community sites. We're aware these cameras are provided by the West Yorkshire Police Camera Enforcement Unit on behalf of the West Yorkshire Police Safety Camera Partnership. Lucas, what are we thinking about this? Do you think it's going to help at all?
I think it'll be great because, like, obviously lately there's been an increase in car crashes, mostly from the youth driving around with their friends, or maybe with like a high like intake of alcohol or drugs. And obviously lately they said that they're thinking of making sure that you don't drive your friends anywhere because they feel like the friends are the distractions if it's not the alcohol. But obviously with cameras coming in more now, I think it's great to see where the areas of the accidents are happening. So you've got like the mobile camera vans driving about, just filming them in the areas where they're getting like warnings and reports of people speeding. And I think it's great for everyone's safety because obviously you've got experienced drivers, then you've got old drivers who are nervous on the road. They're quite old. They can't think a lot that quick as younger people, and it can frighten them and it cause them to crash. So I think fatalities and injuries will hopefully go down.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, this Christmas just gone, I remember West Yorkshire Police had this drunk driving campaign to try and stop drunk drivers. And I think after that, having these cameras now set in place, it might make people more aware as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think it's important that people know that the cameras are there.
Mm-hmm.
So it prevents them before they even try to do it, because people are like, oh, they're hidden to catch us out. But if you think about it, people should know that they're there so they don't do it in the first place, because you see so many people on their phones whilst they're driving, and it's so silly. Because there was also a crash, I think it was in Pontefract not that long ago, where 2 or 3 boys died, teenagers died because they were just being silly.
Well, it's silly, and it creates such sad news around the area, because how many fatalities are caused by people being on their phones or drink driving. And I think having these cameras, they're gonna make people more aware and hopefully reduce that. And it's a sad topic to talk about, really, because so many people die from these sort of crashes.
Yeah.
And it's always the ones that aren't on their phone, they're just in the car.
Yep.
That unfortunately end up dying, and the people that have done wrong get managed to get away alive. It is
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah, and you hear horror stories about like how whole families are like killed from them, and it's like, well, the world's already doom and gloom as it is. We don't need more of that from people
Exactly.
being
It's constant,
stupid
isn't
on
it?
their phones. Yeah. But yeah, in a bit more better news, I guess, Leeds City Council have approved a new recommended plan for new flats in Holbeck, as well as the red brick building at Faulkner Canal Wharf. It's now set for the demolition to make way for new homes. The Leeds Civic Trust was one of the 8 to object to the project. However, now plans have been approved by the developers. Bankfoot, APEM and MPV Leeds say that 9 properties will be provided at a discounted rate. The council's city plans panel is set for approval of the project to the Chief Planning Officer. A meeting will take place on Thursday, the February 13th. And I mean, new housing plans, it's good for Leeds, no?
I guess it is, because there can never be enough houses. If you think about it, there's people moving into these cities constantly. So I think it is a positive thing.
The population's constantly rising. I think in Leeds there is definitely an issue with homelessness now. I think
definitely
providing the way for more people to get houses, particularly the ones that are being sold at a discounted rate, it seems well thought out and cleverly worked, and I think it can only benefit the city.
I agree. I believe that it's a great idea bringing discounted houses into it. Obviously, more people will be able to afford it. But then if you think about it, more people, well, once people get it, they'll go in there, they'll like redecorate it, add things into there. And then once they've found somewhere else to stay, let's say they decide to go to the city for a little bit, then they want to go to countryside and they want to sell their house, I feel like the prices will increase. So I think obviously it's great for it to be discounted. And if you're the first person to get the house when it's freshly built, you're lucky. But then when you sell it, you're going to make a massive profit from it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's hard because, like you say, we always need more and more houses, and they're so like far and few between getting them. I think it might almost ease council waiting lists, even though there's not many there.
But equally, they're really expensive houses.
Yeah, they are.
People don't just have the money to get a house.
It's a very different world to when, per se, our parents started
definitely
buying houses and things.
It almost feels near impossible for like people our age to get a house now.
Like they're waiting years of saving and saving just for a deposit.
For the prices to keep rising.
Yeah, I saw somewhere, like, I think it was last year, and it's reported that if you started saving and not spending any of your money, it'll take you until you're 25 years old to be able to afford a house.
Oh yeah, I might just do that.
I can't remember who it was now, but there was somebody that once put a post, I think, on Twitter, Twitter, which is now X, and they was like, oh, if you just stop buying a coffee every day, you'd be able to afford a house. And it's like, it's not that simple anymore.
No.
It's really not.
But yeah, I guess it's good news for the people that get the houses, but still a bit of an issue for everyone else. But
Yeah.
Right, on to sports. We're going to pass over to Jordan now to give you the latest updates in the sports world.
Yes, absolutely. Then the top story today comes from football, as ex-Huddersfield Town and Manchester United striker Dennis Law's funeral has taken place. The Scotsman passed away on the 17th of January, aged 84, after a long battle with dementia. Fans were seen lining the streets near Manchester Cathedral to pay their tributes to the former Ballon d'Or winner. Lucas obviously played for Manchester United, and you know more about them than we do. What are your thoughts on this?
I feel like everyone at United will love him, appreciate everything he's done for the club. Obviously, winning a Ballon d'Or is massive. And when it comes to stuff like dementia, which is obviously a massive thing when it comes to sports, because in football, I believe quite a few deaths have been caused by dementia or a brain tumour. So obviously, with everyone coming out onto the streets of Manchester paying their respects to Dennis Law, I think it's a great thing the community are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot more research and a lot more knowledge about dementia in football is starting to come out, and it's sad to see that legends of the game, such as Dennis Law, has passed away with it. Sticking with football then, Serena Wiegman, England women's head coach, has announced her first team of 2025 for their Nations League fixtures with Portugal and Belgium. Jess Park and Laura Blinkill-Brown have both received call-ups, but Chloe Kelly has missed out. Obviously, she's famous for scoring the winner in the 2022 final. Esme Morgan, Jess Park and Beth Mead all come from Yorkshire and will play key roles in England's campaign. How do you think they're going to get on?
I think they're going to get on well. But going back to Chloe Kelly, I saw last week that she posted out online a statement towards the media, because the media was trying to say to her, like, do not leave Man City, go to Chelsea. And she responded with, you lot can destroy my mental health. You're not making me perform well on the match days. So that was a massive statement for her. And I totally agree with her. With the media nowadays, the British media in particular, I think the way they handle stuff like this and they're pressuring you, it's just not great.
Yeah, I think maybe this statement wasn't the best of looks for her going forward, but she got a big move away from Manchester City and she's gone to Arsenal, and now hopefully if she finds that form, she can be involved with England in the summer. Obviously, they've got a big Euros campaign to prepare for, and she'll want to be involved with that. But I guess it's also a big opportunity for the players coming in, Jess Park and Blinkill-Brown, to stake their claim.
Yeah.
Last night's football then, Crystal Palace avoided an FA Cup fourth round upset by beating League Two Doncaster Rovers 2-0. Daniel Munoz and Justin Devaney scored the goals in South Yorkshire. Oliver Glasner's side will now travel to Millwall in the last 16, and he says everyone is already looking forward to a London derby.
Of course, when it's important for our fans, when it's a big rivalry, it's important for all of us. In a cup competition, it's an all or nothing game. It makes this game even bigger than it is against any other team. The target, the goal is the same: winning the game and going into the quarterfinal.
Farsley Celtic have lost 6-1 to Needham Market in the National League at the weekend, and manager Neil Redfern resigned just before that. They're still waiting on a manager as problems mount at Farsley Celtic. Obviously, they've been playing away from their home ground this season due to financial issues. They will take on Leamington in the National League at the weekend. Tonight's football, Leeds United head to Vicarage Road this evening as they play Watford in the Championship. Head coach Daniel Farker has confirmed that Max Vober and Patrick Bamford will both miss the game. However, there is some positive news for the Peacocks as Dan James and Joe Rodon are expected to return after missing Saturday's clash with Millwall. Lucas, do you think Leeds can continue their positive run?
Yeah, I believe in Leeds. They've done well lately, obviously with their 7-0 win against Cardiff. And then obviously Cardiff going to have a great game against Stoke. But I think Leeds have a great chance of winning the game. And I can see him getting promoted to the Premier League as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a win today, a draw or a win today would stretch Leeds' unbeaten run to 14 games in the Championship. Obviously, the FA Cup loss at the weekend, hopefully it doesn't knock their confidence from a Leeds perspective. But Watford have not been particularly great either. One win this season at home since Christmas.
That's really bad. That.
Do you think they can turn that form around today?
If they have belief. Obviously, they've been on a really bad run of games, but I think that there's always a time where teams are playing, and then they have a really bad run of games. Let's say they've lost their past 5-6 games. It doesn't matter how heavy it is or how bad they played. But I believe after that's gone and they start getting all right results, they'll start bringing themselves back up. So, yeah, I think they should perform well tonight. Yeah,
there's more than just that in football action tonight. A lot of big games as Bradford City take on bottom of the league Accrington Stanley tonight. 7:45 p.m. kickoff in that one in League Two. Bradford are currently on 7 home games unbeaten run and will try to make it 8, but Accrington often like to cause an upset. They're in a relegation battle sitting in 20th in League Two. There's also Champions League knockout action getting underway this evening, and our region is well represented. Former Leeds United loanee Weston McKennie will play for Juventus against PSV. Elsewhere, Leeds-born Erling Haaland and Barnsley-born John Stones are expected to be in action for Man City, while ex-Sheffield United man James McAtee could also play for Manchester City this evening. On to Rugby League now, and a few signings to get you up to date with. Leeds Rhinos have announced the signing of Ethan Clark-Wood. The 24-year-old will join the club from Tweed Seagulls in the Host Plus Cup. The Australian could make his debut this weekend against Wakefield Trinity. Castleford Tigers too have been in business. They've signed St Helens utility Ben Davies this morning. The 24-year-old has signed a 2-week loan deal, but Casford say they want to make the deal permanent. Danny Maguire will be keen to strengthen his side after a winless pre-season and a loss in the Cup on Sunday. Warren Gatland has left Wales Rugby, left his role as head coach of Wales Rugby. They're without a win in 14 games. Matt Sherratt will lead Wales into Saturday's game, where they will play Ireland. Their last win coming all the way back in 2023 when they beat Georgia in the World Cup. Lucas, a Wales fan, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, it's probably the best decision to make, really, because since he left, all the legends that won the Grand Slams for Wales, they left as well because of age, or the manager just wanted young players to be able to continue the legacy. But I feel like they jumped far too quick to collecting as many young players as they can. Because I believe if you have old players in your squad, you can just keep them on the bench because they're there for the experience. The more experience, the more chance you're going to win a game. And obviously, these legends have won Grand Slams with Wales when Warren Gatland's there. Then when he came back, I thought he was going to bring back more oldies. And but it didn't work. But I believe with this new manager, I hope he's looking from the outside and he's got everyone's mindset with the fans, and if he's thinking, right, I'm gonna do what the fans want, get some old people in here who have played with Warren Gatland, under Warren Gatland, and hopefully they can tell the young players, this is how you play, this is how we won this game. Because I think I read somewhere before this campaign that most of the players cannot remember the last time they won a game. So it's just really bad. And we've been knocked down to 12th in the world ranking, which is below Georgia. And it's the worst we've ever been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely one of the worst places Wales have been. As you say, last win in 2023 to Georgia, who are now above you.
Yeah.
What do you think that Matt Sherratt will have to do to turn Wales around?
He's got to give our team confidence. When I watch the games, I just see the players they have no clue what's happening. One try, all the heads go down. They start falling out of each other. Don't know what goes on in the changing room. I really want to know what goes on there, because it's either the manager goes in there and lets the players do what they want, or he goes in there and just says, unlucky guys can get me in the second half. So I feel like they need to be disciplined. They need to get on with it and remember they're playing for their nation. They're not, and it's in the Six Nations, one of the biggest union campaigns that you could think of. So yeah, I think it's important. He gives them belief. And you can do this, guys. Just believe in yourself. Don't think about what anyone else says. Just go for it.
Yeah, as you say, an inexperienced side, so belief will already be quite low. But I think, a bit of hard love potentially needed. But as you say, they will be in action on Saturday in the Six Nations against Ireland in the third round. That brings you up to date with all your sport. Back to you, Lucy.
Well, thanks for that, Jordan and Lucas. So today is actually the UK's biggest celebration of online safety. Safer Internet Day started as an initiative of the EU Safe Borders project in 2004, and it's now celebrated in around 170 countries. This year, we'll be focusing on the issues surrounding scams online for young people and how to protect themselves. Our reporter, Honor Doyle, spoke to Danielle Williams, an expert in child safety, earlier today, and here's what she had to say.
This year's theme for Safer Internet Day is Too Good to Be True, protecting yourself and other scammers from online. Why do you think they've chosen this theme?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think scams particularly are now very realistic. They are catching a lot of people out. My mum nearly got scammed by somebody who really honestly looked like they were her bank. They had all the right details and everything. She just managed to catch it in time before she'd given them access to anything. But online scams are massively widespread, and AI is obviously helping that with things like capturing your voice and replicating it. Radio hosts are particularly prone to this because there is lots of recording out there of their voices that they can use to get past voice recognition software, etc. So I think that's the volume and size of the problem, I think, is why that was chosen.
Thank you. How much more can the government and the industry do to tackle this issue?
So it has to be a partnership approach. There's no one agency, there's no one person, one platform that can tackle this problem. It has to be a team effort. And the Online Safety Act coming in is part of ensuring that platforms do take responsibility for mitigating potential harm on their platforms, and scamming is part of that.
Thank you. So you say you work within obviously child safety. So
Yeah.
what changes would younger people like to see to protect themselves on the internet?
Oh, that's a good question. And I think the research that's out there, so just as a caveat, I don't work directly with children, but I think certainly from having children myself, who are now adults, I think what children want is agency. They want the ability to say, I don't want to see this type of content. They want the ability to report content that they think is harmful and have that report listened to and have an outcome for that report. A lot of platforms that have a reporting procedure, sometimes it's very, very quick, or sometimes you don't get a response to your report. So you don't know that that is a useful thing to do. So I think what a lot of children want, a lot of young people want, is choice. They want the ability to be able to decide what they do and don't see.
Thank you. So obviously parents can't always see what the children are looking at online or anything. So what advice would you give to parents whose children do have access to the internet?
So my advice, both as a professional and as a parent, is make sure that your children can come to you and talk to you about what they see online. That is the absolute one thing that I think is the most powerful in protecting children. Make sure that if your child sees something online that they're not comfortable with, that they can come to you and say, Mum, Dad, this has happened. What do I do about it? And that they know the reaction they're going to get is going to be, right, let's sit down and see what we can do. It's not going to be shouting and screaming and any kind of recrimination. There are some really serious harms out there, and a lot of that harm is sometimes amplified by the fact that children feel alone. They feel like they can't go to somebody. They don't have the ability to speak out about what's happening to them. And so I think if you make it normal within your family environment that you talk about what you see online, if as a parent you come across something that is mis and disinformation, or that you think is inappropriate and shouldn't be online, you can have that conversation with your children and say, if you ever see something like this, come and talk to me about it. Or if somebody approaches you and says this, come and talk to me about it.
Thank you. Sorry. How do you think schools can manage this issue? Because there's a lot of phones, internet, computers, everything in schools.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting thing. And again, I would say teachers need to be that trusted individual that somebody can come to and say, I've seen this online, or this has happened to me online. How do I deal with it? There's lots of schools doing different things all over the country. I've seen some schools are taking a banning smartphones approach, where when they get into school in the morning, they put their smartphone in a locker and then they collect it of an evening, and when they finish school. That might not work for every school. I know when I saw that article on the BBC, the children that were involved were appreciative of it. But realistically, in the adult world, your phone is right next to you all of the time. It is a absolutely integral part of your day, and children's access to the internet is also now a regular part of their day, particularly since COVID, when a lot of learning and teaching went online. You know, my daughter couldn't have done her college work without access to Teams and Microsoft Office and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that for me is schools have a hard job to do, and schools aren't always, their focus is on teaching, and so it's sometimes a little unrealistic to expect them to have all of the answers. So there are tools out there that schools can use to assess their policies and procedures around online safety, which I would encourage them to use. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is being able to be that trusted adult that a child can come to when they're in trouble.
Thank you very much. Just one last thing. Is there anything else that you would like to add to anything to do with this topic?
I think I want to say that things are changing. I think certainly when the internet came out, it was absolutely the Wild West. And I think with regulation and legislation that's coming in all over the world, we are starting to tame that Wild West. I certainly hope that when it's time for me to hang my boots up and retire, that I can say that we've come a long way, that the internet is now a much safer place, not just for children, but for everybody. And so I have hope for the future, and for perhaps your children, if you decide to have them, that they will have a much safer experience online than perhaps I did or my children did.
Thank you.
Well, that was Danielle Williams speaking all things internet safety for children's safety too. So, in the bit of better news, the award-winning Better West End cast will be performing at the Alhambra Theatre. They bring back Hamilton right up until the 15th of March. Make sure you grab your tickets. I know I want to go. Anybody else?
It's £100.
Really? Wow.
It's
Yeah.
£100 for a ticket.
I think you're paying for the names of the actors that are almost there.
No, it'll be good, I think. If
I
it
think
costs
it's
that much to
probably-
be
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
should be good for that price.
It will be
Definitely.
good, and people should definitely try attend. But I think if it was not West End actors and award winning, would it be that price?
But I guess it would be quite cool to say, oh, I've seen Hamilton.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's bringing people to Bradford, and that's good because it's really putting Yorkshire on the map, just like everything else this year, with Bradford being the city of culture. So let us know what you're getting up to, and keep up to date with the Yorkshire Voice socials to make sure you don't miss out on what we get up to here. That's it for today. See you next time, and thanks for listening.